Yo, what's up guys, and welcome back to a new video. Today I wanted to touch on a topic that is close to heart for me, which is Warrior in M+ and Raid. And let me tell you guys, we are pretty down bad. And that is also why I'm making this video, because this is kind of getting pathetic. So without further ado, let's just jump straight into it with comparing some logs. So what I did is I targeted Darkheart Ticket here with keystone levels above 25 to see how our damage compares to others. So as we can see here on the top list, we see everyone pretty much chilling right around that 300k or above mark. And if we take the warrior damage in comparison, we can see a significant drop instantly straight off the bat. We see about a 20 to 30% decrease in damage. Now, a lot of people might argue this saying like, okay, well, we have a lot of single target damage or we have the utility, but the matter of the fact is that we don't. We do not have the utility to compensate for the lack of damage that we're pulling out at the moment. Now, to show you guys that this is not an isolated incident, let's go to Blackrook Hold and see what happens over there. So in Blackrook Hold, we can see everyone chilling right around that 370 to even 425k DPS. Now, if we look at the same for Warrior here, we can see a similar pattern coming around. We can see 276k all the way up to 321k. That is just a 100k DPS decrease. That is a 25% decrease in damage. Now, as I said before, we do not have the utility or the prio damage to compensate for this lack of DPS. As a last example, let's go to Ataldasar just to show you guys that it's not about these two dungeons specifically, but that it also extends to other dungeons. So here we have Ataldasar going from 275 to 310k. Now let's take a look at what Warrior does in comparison. As we can see, we drop all the way down to 245 all the way to 210k DPS. Now, whenever we see this pattern, we see 20 to 30% DPS decrease in every single dungeon that we do. Now, I filled it on 25 specifically because that seems like a good cutoff mark for when you start to get to those higher key levels. And it's also a metric that's being used in M+ on Raid.io. So whenever we take a look at Raid.io right here, we can see the melee DPS and what we have to challenge against. And we can see 52.5% plays Havok Demon Hunter as melee DPS in keys. Now, the other 20+ish percent comes from rogues. And we see a little bit of a jump in red paladins. Now I think why we see more red paladins than other classes is just purely because of the utility that they give with sacks, freedoms, and also with bobs, which is very useful in dungeons like Waycrest Manor, where you can bob them out of the roots, or freedoms for in Everbloom, and they do quite decent AoE damage. But if you compare us to either of these classes, we do not have the utility to combat this. We cannot deal with the damage or the utility from Havok or from Outlaw or from Retribution Paladins even. And with other classes it's even worse. You can see Survival Hunters, Unholy DKs, Windwalkers, Feral Druids are not being played at all. Nobody wants to play those classes. Now if you take a look at Raid, because I know a lot of you guys also care a lot about raiding and you say like, well, Fury Warrior isn't that bad in Raid. Neither is Arms, they're doing quite fine, they're in the middle of the pack. And I would say that is true. And the reason for this is just because Fury Warrior does very well in some of the fights that are being played in the raid at the moment. If you think about Larodar, we have the Odin's Fury and the Thunderous Roar to give some upfront burst damage into those adds, which inflates our overall a little bit. The same goes for Igera, where we can constantly have Odin's Fury for all the spears. And the same with Council, we can hit multiple targets, which plays in the favor of Fury and Arms. However, when we actually go into damage to bosses, we can see a significant drop. Fury Warrior almost being at the bottom with Frosty K. Now we don't look at Augmentation Evoker specifically because their locks are a little bit weird at the moment with the hooking that they have, so let's not talk too much about those. But you can see there's a consistent problem with both Arms and Fury being very low down. Arms Warrior is supposedly one of the best specs to play for boss damage. Currently, they are very far from being that best class for single target boss damage. For Fury Warrior, it's even worse. We're all the way down at the bottom. So now we've established that Fury Warrior doesn't do any boss damage, neither does Arms Warrior, and In AoE, they are also just way too far behind. We do not have utility to combat it. They already nerfed the way that rally works. Ignore Pain doesn't add anymore to anger management, which is also very poor design for the rotation currently on arms, meaning that we don't have any good rage spending ways to build up a good test of might, and overall it's just a big issue. Now, a lot of people might think like, oh, the legendary is gonna fix this, and I do not have the sims to show for it right now, but I have simmed it for both AoE and single target, and the DPS gain will be 12 to 10k in both instances. So it's not like that it's magically gonna fix a 20% DPS cap. I know this is a bit of a rant video and it's a little bit different from what you guys are normally used to, but leave your comments down below on what you think needs to be done to fix Fury or ARMS in both M+ and Raid, and make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you like the content. And see you all in the next one.